everyone. It's so wonderful to be here today and to as we approach the end of the year. And first of all, to tell about our gratitude for this group, for being blessed with the opportunity of being able to be part of this group, of all of you that have been dedicating yourselves so much um, along all those years. Some of you are new, some of you have been with us for decades, but it's all the same when you get enjoying you are all in our hearts, and especially at this time of the year where we are all invited to ponder about our next steps, to make an assessment of what the year has represented to us, and to try to really put together a new plan, a new way of or strengthen the one we already have in terms of how should we conduct ourselves for the following year, and what else can we do in terms of personal achievement, because our main objective here at the Spiritist Group of New York and Spiritism in general is to help each other to be able to continue in this process of personal growth. And because we do understand that this is the only way we will have to gather peace, happiness that we so much want to have in our lives. And thinking about the end of the year and all this purpose that we have put ourselves into in terms of our spiritual journey, and considering all the adversities that we are facing, regardless of the adversities that in a collective way that the world is facing, we ourselves on a personal level also, I'm sure, are struggling in one area or more than one area. So it's not unusual when we are facing this kind of struggle or adversities, or questioning about everything that is happening to us, or everything that is happening around the world, that we may lose focus, and that we may feel that sometimes it's not worth. I don't know if I should continue in this way. What is the difference that it's making in my life? Because the results, when especially when we are talking about our immortal spirit and talking about this personal achievements, they do not show necessarily overnight from one day to the next. It takes time, and we ourselves are not the best people to make this kind of assessment. It's interesting because sometimes when we meet people that we don't see for a while, and they are capable of saying, there is something different with you. You look calmer. Your eyes give a more peaceful vibe, something like that. But for ourselves on the day-to-day basis, it's really hard to access our progress. And this is the reason why, because it is so hard, and basically we are at the beginning of the race, right? There is a long way for us to go. We may lose the desire, that strength, that even the joy to continue. And this is why I brought to you this message today. We are going to be analyzing some messages from Jesus, from Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, about the importance of persevering. regardless of all the impact, all the difficulties that we may be facing. So it's very much like we see in the picture. It may be, it looks hard, right? It looks really hard to roll the stone to the top of the mountain. But we have to believe in ourselves. We have to believe that we are going to be able to do it. And if in a way, or when we begin, the stone seems heavier, the more we advance, the lighter we will see that it is, and how much help we are having and receiving. So the first message that I want to bring to you, it's a message that it is in the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 20, item 5, the Lord's workers. But before we start talking about the message itself, this is the chapter that talks about the workers of the last hour. And when Jesus tells the parable explaining about, workers, spirits that have been dedicating to their self-improvement, the spiritual improvement from the beginning of times, and others that have just joined more to the end. In this case, using an analogy, talking more about a farmer, something like that, when the people are going to be invited to join in this work of working in this farm, in this field, in the field of Lord, of God, so to say. So, and then talks about when it's time for them to get paid for what they have achieved in terms of work, they all get paid the same. And of course, there are some that complain, and there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from this parable. But it's talking about the invitation, it's talking about our commitment, it's talking about how much we can conquer regardless of the time that we have been dedicating ourselves. It's not about quantity, it's about the quality of the work. And then it continues talking about making comments in the following items. And in item 4, it talks about the mission of the Spiritists. I think it's brilliant the way Kardec decided to put together this chapter, because first he talks about the workers, those that were invited in the different hours of the day, pointing out that somehow we are at the last hour. And if there was any doubt, then it comes this item 4 that says and talks directly about us, the Spiritists, and what is the purpose of us here. So if until that point we would think that the message was not referring to us, in item 4 Kardec eliminates any kind of doubt and talks direct to us. Listen, you are the workers of the last hour. You have been invited to do this kind of work. And listen, Kardec was saying that 160, almost 165 years ago. So that's why I like to point out that the hour is running really fast, is no longer an hour. And in this message, what does represent to be a worker of the Lord, in the sense of, gathering goodness and applying goodness in our lives. So the message is signed by the Spirit of Truth. And we Spiritists, according to several other messages that we can find in the Spiritist Reviews, years 62, 63, 64, and also messages in the Medium's book that indicates that the Spirit of Truth is Jesus himself, which is a very appropriate name, I think, or way of being identified that that Jesus proposes here, because he was the one, after all, that said that he was the way, to truth and life. So here he is presenting truth to us. So here is this. So those messages signed by the Spirit of Truth, and Kardec even mentions in the Medium's book that the message he received by the Spirit was received by one of the best mediums they had, and some of them was even signed Jesus of Nazareth. Okay, so this is a message from Jesus. You are nearing the time when the fulfillment of things announced for the transformation of humanity will take place. So we were nearing the time 165 years ago. Okay, so now we are living this time. We are talking 1.5 century, more than 1.5 century. So this is when the transformation of humanity is really happening. It's no longer just cooking, with things happening here and there. It is happening. Okay, this is the time that we are in this process of human transformation. And he says, happy will be those who will have worked in the Lord's field with selflessness and having no other motive than charity. So here it's also interesting to point out that he has not emphasized the amount of time that we have been doing that, but the qualities of the heart, the inner qualities, which is selflessness and charity, the way we are going to be understanding and dedicating ourselves to others as well, and not living in a selfish way. So it's not about time, again, it's about what is happening in terms of our personal characteristic traits and virtues acquired. Their working days will be paid 100-fold of what they would have hoped for. So in this way, he's saying the recompense is much more. And here sometimes, every time we talk about reward, about we still, because of how material we still are, we tend to think about the personal gain in terms of favor, in terms of more material things. But here, what Jesus is talking to us is about this peace, the inner peace. So we still have no idea, or have no way how to measure goodness that we put towards the world. And here he's saying it's so much more than you think. When we reach this stage that we can really clean ourselves and be able to work in this way, selflessness and with charity, it's so much more that we can gather. And happy will be those who will have said to their fellow beings, brothers and sisters, let us work together and let us unite our efforts so that the master will find the work finished on his arrival, emphasizing the need for us to work with each other. We are all children of God. We are here all with the same purpose of promoting our self-improvement and helping each other in order to achieve the same. And when we refer to that, especially from the Spirit's book, the third part 3, talks about the moral laws, the law of society. We see the codependence that we have from each other. I mean, we cannot survive by ourselves. We do not have the expertise in each and every field that requires attention for us to survive. So this is already something that obliges us in a way to understand how much we need each other. And this is no different when we are talking about spiritual involvement, when we are talking about spreading spirituality, about all the work that has to be done. It has to be a combination, this growth that is so important. I don't know if I already mentioned to you, I probably did, because this is every now and then I remember this personal experience, and when I I started working on the translations from the the Spiritist books to English. And of course, not being a native, even now, almost 30 years living in the English language is never the same, right? And but when I started, it was even more difficult to go through all that. And I wanted to do this so much. I wanted to bring Spiritism into the English language, and I was not finding that much help. And so there was a time that I was kind of crossed with God, because I said, listen, you know all, right? You know everything. So you knew I was going to be having this opportunity, this experience in this lifetime. And now I'm here with my goodwill, wanting to do things that I'm not capable of doing by myself. I need help, and I cannot find, and I can do that. I'm not finding the collaboration I really need to put this work forward. Why haven't you equipped me with everything that I needed, right? That was my question, and it was revolving on my mind for quite some time, until one day I came to the realization that this was not the purpose. That the purpose was that I was not supposed to be self-sufficient. I was I should be one that would be inspiring others to do the work with me, and others that could complement, with the qualities that I lacked. And so I said, oh, okay, but then it's so much harder when sometimes we have to go this way, right? But this is the way it had to be. And this is the reason why I think up to this day, we are not self-sufficient. Either we have to understand that what living in fraternity means, but also in terms of inspiring people that can join and can help in this sense as well. So Jesus continues saying, the master will say to them, come to me, you who have been good servants, you who have laid down your jealousies and disagreements so as not to leave the work unfinished. So here the message is, put your personal interests apart, your personal flaws apart, because we cannot lose focus that we are here for this personal for this spiritual growth, but to bring this knowledge to each and every one. And if we start, because of petty things, start bickering with each other, we are going to compromise the work. Can you imagine, working in the farm, and then you say, no, this piece of land is mine. Your grass is bending, or your little tree is bending into my piece of land, and it's compromising my work, and we are going to be wasting precious time instead of working together. So jealousy, why are we going to be jealous if the work doesn't belong to us, but the tasks belong to each and every one? All of us, we have tasks to accomplish. So there is no point in saying, oh, she has something to do, I don't have anything. No, you do. Be sure that you do. Maybe you're being blind, or you're still ignoring what you have to do, but we all have a place in this project of the universe. But who to those who by their dissensions have delayed the hour of the harvest, for a storm will come, and they will be swept away by the whirlwind. What would be that storm, if not exactly this period of transformation and separating the chaff from the wheat that we are going through now? So if we prepare ourselves, if we work on ourselves to become really worthy of continuing in this pathway, okay, we will not be, so to say, remove it from a place that we will not no longer be able to adapt. So those things are going to happen, or is already happening in our world. They will cry out, have mercy on us, but the Lord will say to them, why do you ask for mercy? You who did not have mercy on your brothers and sisters, and who refused to reach out to them. You who crushed the weak instead of supporting them. So it's all the warnings we are receiving, right? It's everywhere for us to pay attention on our behavior, for us to pay attention how we treat each other, how we collaborate with each other. So we cannot be like children, say, I didn't know that if I spilled milk, it was going to wet the floor. Okay, we can no longer have this kind of, childish response. And I mean, here we are talking to God, right? We cannot hide anything. So he says, why do you ask for mercy, you who have sought your reward in earth's joy and in the satisfaction of your pride? You have already received your reward, and as you wanted. Ask no further. Heavenly rewards are for those who have not asked for the rewards of the earth. So, unfortunately, at the back of our minds, we are all, when we are good, is like now, in times of Christmas, we we will write letters to God or to the Santa Claus and say, "Oh, I have been a good girl during the year," right? So in a way, we're still wishing for this compensation. And again, I always like to remind you of that a statement from Emmanuel that says, listen, you have been, considering the eternity, you have been good for only 5 minutes. There is not too much, to consider in terms of, providing you with rewards. But here we are talking about, not losing focus, not thinking that just I'm being good, because if I'm good, everything good is going to happen to us. It is still not like that. Okay. But we should not worry, because every seed that is related to good that we are sowing, it is come in terms of result as goodness to us, not necessarily immediately. Okay. God is counting his faithful servants right now and has marked with its finger for those who only have the appearance of revelation, so that they do not usurp the wages of courageous servants. For only those who will not shrink from their task will be entrusted with the most difficult part of the great work of regeneration through Spiritism. So it is not about, putting up an appearance of goodness. You can be nice, you can show or show a facade of being compassionate to your brothers and sisters, but if it is not in your heart, there is no way we can deceive God. So appearances here are not going to help us in any way. It is about action. And this is it is so hard, because it is hard for us sometimes to do this kind of actions that are going to really promote changes in us and help in the large scheme of things. So thus fulfilling these words, the last will be the first and the first will be the last in the kingdom of heaven. So as much as we will be giving out of our dedication, or again quality, this is how we are going to be rewarded. And there is a message in this sense as well, continue in terms of the perseverance, right? Because the whole message from the Spirit of Truth to us is about awareness. It brings us awareness in terms of our commitments, our responsibilities before the law of God, and us placing ourselves, leaving it really clear that it's about the way we we do those things. The worker of the last hour that had received the same compensation, meaning they got the idea of what they had to do, again, not quantity but quality, and achieving those qualities. So Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, in this message that he gave to the spirit through the medium Divaldo Pereira Franco. It's a message from 2015 already. He talks about persevere in goodness. So he goes like saying, it is inevitable that we experience existential crisis resulting from the moral situation in which our planet finds itself. Oh my God, this is a statement. This phrase from Dr. Bezerra is on point, right? So how many people we know, not just now, but uh, from recent past, that have been talking about, all the crises that we are having here. People that sometimes come to us and say, "Oh, we're moving backwards. We don't see progress in the world." And this is what I was saying in the beginning. We forget, right? Because it's only necessary for us to read a book that talks or describes 100 years ago, or watch a movie that brings the same thing to us, and we will see it not only in terms of lack of technological, scientific advancements that we have today and make our life much more comfortable, but also in terms of behavior and the laws, prejudices that there were much stronger then. Yeah, we still have all that today, but we've been evolving. So uh, this is a time that we will see that as well, because as the spirits explain, because we are in a time of transition, many spirits that are really in a situation where they do not necessarily know how they are going to choose their next steps. They bring a lot of backward examples or things into the world as well. And so we look and say, oh, things seem to be bad, but it's like a second chance that they are having of establishing where they want to be in their near future. So that's why we are seeing also so much this kind of crisis. And he says to us, you reincarnated to contribute to the paradigm shift from a planet of trials and atonements to a world of regeneration. So now is where the responsibility for us, the practitioners of spiritism or spiritual values, because we don't need to say that it is only related to those who are practitioners of spiritism. It could be related to any other faith. We normally talk about spiritism because this is the community that we belong. This is the people we are talking to, but it could be any other religious or philosophy, ideology, if they are really putting themselves in terms of going towards God as God has proposed to us in terms of the love of God. So, but here to us, we have the responsibility of changing, contributing for this change of paradigm to help us, to help in the evolvement of our planet. And this is not an easy thing to do. That's why sometimes, I mean, for us to think that we are here on vacation, no, we came here for hard work. We may have, a few periods of respite, but here we came for the hard work. And Dr. Bezerra says, you have made a commitment to spread Jesus Christ's teachings according to the insurmountable lessons of his gospel. Another important thing for us to think about here is not talking that we came here to spread, reverence, worshiping the man Jesus Christ, but the teachings and the lessons. It is not about the person, because it's never going to be. All the work belongs to God, regardless of how big we are, how much personal advancement we have achieved. Here is about teachings, lessons, and it's telling us that we made the commitment of doing that. It's a lot of responsibility. So because of that, he advises us not to fear the evil nor the wicked, because uh, 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 as Dr. Bezerra says, their tricks have the durability of their own facetiousness and disappear as soon as the idealists are snatched by the grave and awake in the afterlife with tormented conscience and shattered heart. So here, in other words, he's saying, death will come to each and every one. And then what we were fighting here, saying, oh, this is not in this way, as soon as we cross over, we will see. Like, for people who do not believe in the mortality of the soul or even reincarnation, they will get back to the spirit world and say, oh my God, what am I doing is still alive, right? All those things that are going to be contributing for the changes that have been happening to us as well through all the times. So the message, persevering goodness. United, we will resist. Fragmented, we will be defeated in our essential objectives. In the same way that Jesus told us, here, Dr. Bezerra is talking to us about the importance of union in order not, to always focusing on the objective and the cause that we have committed ourselves. And of course, the more we contribute with each other, the better the work, the result of the work. We have the right to disagree, to think differently, and the duty to discuss, to expose, but not to dissent. And because, of course, he understands about human nature and people working together, we barely sometimes can decide what we are going to have for dinner, right? One may have, one say, I want eggs. No, I want steak. I want fish. I want, potatoes. So, of course, because of our different upbringings and countless reincarnations, everything, we will have different points of view. So it's okay to be different. It's okay to discuss. It's okay to decide together. But because your opinion was not the one that prevailed, you should not never dissent or go away. Oh, people do not listen to me. You are just happy when your opinion is the one that is going to prevail. So here again, Dr. Bezerra is saying, do not lose track of what you're doing here. And I know that teamwork is wonderful, but but also it's hard because each one will have a different opinion. If we were to say, okay, let's go to SGNY and make a poll about what color should I paint the walls of the SGNY. I'm sure I would have at least 4 or 5 different colors on place, right? People would say, oh no, I like this greenish, or maybe a white would be better, or a blue would be softer. We would have different opinions, but then we will work together, not feel um, uh, personally attacked, so to say, if our the color that we chose was not the one that the majority decide to do. So this is very important for us. Stay cohesive with the spiritual codification, which will one day influence the behavior of earthly society. So here he's talking to us. You can discuss as much as you want about the colors of the wall, okay? But regarding what we have in the spiritist codification, you stay there. Because remember that this one day will influence the behavior of earthly society. And he goes saying, Spiritism is not a philosophy for a certain number of people. It is a message of eternal life for all human beings. So here we see the grandiosity of Spiritism, and also have the idea of what it really means, that statement from Leon Denis that says that Spiritism is not the religion of the future, but the future of religion, meaning the philosophy, the understanding, the knowledge, the set of knowledge that we have from Spiritism is actually going to impact the whole human being. It's just a matter of time. The more people will start learning and understanding and having an open mind, the more it's going to be incorporated in each other's life. It brings so much comfort, like especially now when we talk about the countless number of people that have been dying because of not only COVID but other illnesses, other situations, but that have been giving provoking more impact on us because of the pandemic per se. We can bring comfort to the families that are losing their loved ones by saying, they're not gone. They're not lost to you forever. You can even communicate with them in time, and if opportunity arises, right? So, and then he says, Dr. Bezerra, and in facing the questioning challenges that seem to present a humanity in decay, we are certain that the earthly boat continues under the command of the Captain Jesus, and in its inexorable march, it will dock in the country of regeneration. So he says, but if you still have any doubts, or thinking that we have lost control, the one that is in command is the governor, the one that helped in the co-creation of earth itself and responsible for all the spirits that are connected to this planet. That is Jesus. It's just giving us time, but even if we are going to difficult waters, it doesn't mean that we are lost and that we are not receiving the necessary help. And in another message, No Postponements, he says, Jesus, my children, is guiding the earthly ship and will take it to the safe harbor that is destined for it. Let us fight for the honor of being part of his crew as humble collaborators. It is all about what we are talking in terms of perseverance of the worker, the practitioner. We have to really go and try to grab this opportunity of being part of Jesus' crew, collaborating as much as we can. And again, regardless of how we personally conduct ourselves, there is a plan. And now it's up to us to fit in this plan or not. We have our free will. So this is what is happening to Earth right now. We have, this transition period. We have all the spirits that still have a chance to decide by themselves if they want to go this way or that way. Still, the choice is ours. And we should not be or allow ourselves to be tremendously impacted by the crisis that is happening around us, but keeping on working on the direction of what we want to achieve. Join hands in any circumstance may exacerbate its sensitivity born out of presumption or selfish devices, not be an impediment to the work of enlightening consciences. So again, let's put our imperfections aside, okay, like our human traits that it still reflect our imperfection, right, aside, and keep on with this work of enlightening conscience. And remember, when we are talking about enlightening consciences here, we are not talking about words per se, right? Remember the famous phrase, the quotation that we have from Francis of Assisi, that he says, preach the gospel and use words if necessary. So here is not about, going out and trying to brainwash the whole humanity. It was never about that. It was always about examples, about people looking at us and saying, you know what, I like the peace that she or he demonstrates to have. Uh, I like the way they treat others. I like the way they are committed to their job, their work, and um, the way they conduct themselves before any kind of crisis. I want that to myself. And then they find out that we have a spiritual way of seeing things. And this is what has been helping us in this sense of you know uh, making a good impression as well. Now is the crucial moment of decision. There is no more room for hesitation, for postponing the realization of the ideal. That's why I wanted to bring this message to you now, because like I said, we are, again, nearing the time where we are going to be thinking and planning for our new year, the New Year's resolutions, right? So for our resolution now is a crucial moment. No more room for hesitation. What do we really want to do with our lives? And here, when I talk about our lives, I'm talking about our mortal lives, because not only is going to impact our lives now, but our future life as well, in terms of how much peace of mind we will have or not, and even when we return to the spirit world. These are tumultuous days. Your awards will be the scared wounds of the soul that will constitute the divine passport for you to enter the great beyond in peace after the difficult crossing. Um, Dr. Bezerra presents us here with the truth. He's not saying, oh, no, this is going to be nice, or a piece of cake for all of you, or you can do it, and you will have all the help in the world. And no, he's saying it's going to be hard. the scarred wounds of the soul, right, is going to be the divine passport, like, our commitment, our struggle to conquer ourselves. And it's not easy, when we commit ourselves to, a better lifestyle, right? Okay, I'm going to be eating more consciously, and exercising and paying attention at my reactions, not to be rude to people. I mean, it is a huge commitment, right? It's hard for us. Old habits die hard, right? So here, all this process of renewing ourselves and impacting the world, it's not going to be an easy process. We're living that already. So what is the answer we have here? Carry Jesus with you and live by him. Again, it's not the man, it's the life examples, the lessons, and spread to everyone all of those lessons that have been contributing for you not to lose track of yourself as well. Jesus needs our voice to lead him to those who are empty for the truth or who are paralyzed for the action of goodness. No more tomorrow, today. Now is the right time to help. So it's not that our contribution doesn't matter. Like we say, oh no, it's a pure spirit. It's a pure spirit, can do everything, right? We even have a very interesting example in this sense when Jesus appeared to Paul on the way to Damascus, right? The road of Damascus. And Paul became blind by, or was blinded by the luminosity of Jesus in that whole situation. He Jesus asked Paul to go to the city that someone was going to go there to heal him. And then he wakes up Ananias and says, "Go there in the cave of the lion that came into the city to finish you," right? Or the cave of the wolf or whatever, and help him and heal him from the blindness that he has. And so we say, why didn't Jesus heal him himself at that point? So, in the terms of physicality and everything that have to happen, he used the contribution of someone that was incarnate with a physical body. So for us to think that we cannot be the recipient of doing good, just to say, oh no, Jesus is going to be in charge of doing that. And there is this passage that Jesus says, every time you feed one of the needs, you clothe someone that is in with cold, you're doing that to me. So we are inspired to do the work of good on behalf of Jesus. We are, like they say, the physical representatives, but it's up to us to understand this call and to act on it. And Dr. Bezerra de Menezes, when uh, he starts finishing this message to us, showing how much he knows and understanding about how difficult it is, all this process, because he himself went through that, okay? He says, we know of your struggles, of your silent testimonies, of the tears shed before what you wish to accomplish and what you succeed in doing. And here we remember Paul again when he says, what is the reason why, the good that I want to do, I'm still not capable of. And the bad that I do not want to do, this is the one that I'm doing. So here, Dr. Bezerra is telling us, I know of your humanity. I know of your weakness. I understand how hard it's been and how difficult it has been for you to succeed in doing what you want to do. But remember, not a few times with your spiritual guides, we have wiped your tears and pointed out the direction to be conquered on the rough ocean in order to find the promised land. Don't hesitate. I don't know about you, but when I read that for the first time, thinking that Dr. Bezerra would come personally to help me, to dry my tears, to, cheer me up, to go and to continue. And he says, not a few times. And with your spiritual guides, which mean we were not alone in the first place. Our spiritual guides were with you, with us, helping us in this process. But depending on how we are, what we are doing, and how much we are committed to, to really even help more people than just ourselves, they're going to be personally helping us here. I don't. Um, and in this part where we are talking about perseverance, because of all the struggles that we go through, there is a message that was dictated by the spirit Allan Kardec. He was already dead at this point, and in the year of his death, he dictated several messages. This one is a message that is part of the Spiritist Review 1869. And he talks about the defectors, because this is what happened when we do not persevere. At this first sign of struggle, we decide to lose all the work that we did and say, no more, it's not for me. And let's see what Kardec says here. It is in this incessant struggle against established prejudice, against believed errors, that one learns to know humans. I knew, as I devoted myself to the work of my predilection, that I would be exposed to hatred, envy, and jealousy of others. The path was full of difficulties, which were continuously renewed. Not being able to do anything against the doctrine, they threw themselves at the man. But on this side, I felt strong because I have renounced my personality. What did I care about the slander? My conscience and the greatness of the objective made me willingly forget the heat and thorns of the road. The testimonies of sympathy and esteem that I received from those who knew how to appreciate me constituted the most estimable reward that I had ever aspired to. So here, Kardec is saying, because sometimes we think, oh, those people that are more special, they had it in an easy way. And Kardec is giving his testimony here, saying, listen, I myself had to do this struggle. And the only way that I could survive was to put the ego aside, which is a big problem for us, right? This is what makes us, dispute with each other, to give up the fight, and I mean, in terms of the good fight, to provoke things that can compromise the work. And here it says they could not attack the work, so they had to come for the man and try to destroy the man that was doing that. So every time, and I think, on a personal level, we all feel that, even in the bosom of our own family. How many of you experience perhaps the lack of sympathy of other family members because you have this spiritual way of life? and they try to say, but listen, I know you're not that good, you should give up, uh, trying to make us feel uh, bad about ourselves. Yeah, we are not perfect, and there is a lot for us to conquer. But it doesn't mean that because we are acknowledging that, we should just give up the fight and say, "Oh, I was born this way, and this is the way that I'm always going to die." This is not what the Spiritism teaches us. There is the law of progress, and sooner or later we are all going to progress. It's just a matter of time, and the time, it's up to us to decide. So Kardec gives us a recipe how to do when we are going through this turmoil times or misunderstandings, etc. Whenever confronted with a disappointment or any annoyance, I would lift my thought above humanity and put myself in advance in the spirit realm. And from that high point, from where I could see my end point, the miseries of life is laid right over me without affecting me. So we have to look at the big picture. What am I trying to achieve? What am I representing here? Like Dr. Bezerra said, we have made a commitment to spread Jesus' teachings, to help in the enlightenment of consciences all over the world, because it's for each and every one, not for a particular coin of the part of the corner of the world, right? So when I think about, I'm here to do my part and fulfill my commitment before Jesus, when I came and said, okay, I'm going to work on myself and help in the progress of humanity. So for now, Jesus is my boss. It's our boss. And I have to think about pleasing Jesus, pleasing God, and not about everything, all those annoyances that Kardec is talking about. Otherwise, I will lose track of what we are doing here. So that is why the perseverance in this sense is so good, in terms of us believing ourselves, believing in our possibilities, in the improvement that we are capable of achieving. Okay, in certain areas, maybe it will take a few lifetimes for us to be able to do things, but it doesn't mean that we are not improvement, or that we do not already present at least the desire to improve. And when we think about it, and when we think about immortal life, when we think about life in the spirit world as well, uh, thinking about all, this little corner where we live, and being affected by it in the way of putting us or delaying our inner improvement. No, this is not how we should let things affect us. And to finish our presentation, uh, I'm bringing to you it's basically a prayer, like a prayer, the way Kardec addressed himself to the spirit, to Jesus, to God, and when he realized it, uh, the the importance of the work that was given to him. And at this point, we can say, okay, but how can we compare our teeny tiny It's very small tasks in relation to the one of a missionary like Kardec. You see, again, if we look at the watch, the smallest part, if we remove that, the watch doesn't work, right? So we have something to do in the great scheme of the universe and our collaboration as well. So even if we are talking on a much smaller scale, it is still the same thing and how we should position ourselves. And this is how Kardec addresses the spirit of truth, thanking the spirit of truth by the wise counsels and saying that he accepts everything without restriction and without preconceived ideas. So the spirit of truth, Jesus, also came to us and asked us to play a role in this lifetime. What are we going to say to Jesus? And then he goes on by saying, "Oh Lord, if you deign to set your eyes on me for the fulfillment of your designs, may your will be done. My life is in your hands as your servant, and I am at your disposal. I acknowledge my weakness before such a great endeavor. My goodwill will not fail, but perhaps my strength will give out. Supplement my deficiencies. Give me the physical and mental strength I will need. Sustain me in the difficult moments, and with your aid and the help of your heavenly messengers, I will use every effort to comply with your designs." So it is a message of perseverance, recognizing how much we still lack to be able to fulfill our commitments and to continuing facing all the adversities, but at the same time recognizing that we are not alone, that we have the assistance of the spiritual guides of Jesus, of God, and that in this sense, regardless of what happened and how your year was this year and what we will face next year, the message is let's keep on going. Let's unite ourselves, find the strength in each other. And this is what I love so much about the Spiritist community, because there is no nationalities that put us apart. There is no age that separates us. We are all here understanding the path that we have to track and to give support to each other in our community. So thank you so much for this. Now I'm going to stop sharing the presentation and be able to hear your comments and interact with each and every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jussara. Wonderful, wonderful lecture, very important message. Now we open for questions. Comments, questions? Don't need to be questions. You can make comments.
Jussara, you give us such strength in our daily lives, and I'm sure all of us that are here, we thank you, giving us this beautiful message from Christ. Sometimes we forget, we study spiritism, but when you give this talk, it's such an enlightenment to keep us on the road of work and continue work, no matter how many times we fall, because we do. We are like little children. We fall, then we have to learn again, and we fall, and we have to learn again. But we continue to listen to these beautiful talks, and you don't know how much this helps, and only Christ knows that You are the sister of so much uh, teachings and helping us and guiding us throughout our lives. And this certainly is a renewal for, again, here we go, a new year, and we start again and again and again. And we fall and we get up. And then all these messages, oh my God, you know, I don't feel like a failure. I don't, because it's a normal sense of what we're here for. We're living through this. We have to go through this because of what we need. So we fall and we pick up. And we go try to do a better job next time. So there's so much to say about this. Thank you 1,000 times. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's what I can say. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Ooh.
Paco. Hello.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Jussara, thank you so much. You know, it's like I had these thoughts more or less like here and there, and you gave me so much reassurance. Like I'm walking the right path. You understand? That's how I read your message. Your message to me is, Paco, you're on the right path. Continue. And the very, yeah, that was cool. That was very cool, you said. And the very last of the presentation, I said that lift yourself up to the spirit. Like I read it, detachment, Paco, detachment, slowly detachment, and you'll see things differently. It was really like, it was the most beautiful reassurance I have gotten so far in this, in this crisis that we're going through. Thank you so much. It was a perfect reassurance. Okay, so I'm walking the right path. Thank you.
Oh my God.
Luis.
Drew, I have a curiosity about one particular thing that you mentioned in your presentation. At a certain point, you mentioned the communication transmitted by Divaldo in a meeting in Brasilia in 2015, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And in one particular paragraph, it was said something like, you reincarnated to help in the transition. In the original, who was this you? Was a single person you, or was you in the audience, or was you in the meeting, or you reincarnated? Do you have the original reference to this?
Yes, yes, we do have the message in Portuguese as well. And the thing is, when those more evolved spirits communicate, and of course they have to use this, pronoun. When they talk, they sometimes they use the you to talk really personally to each one of us. So especially when we have messages from Dr. Bezerra, from Emmanuel, from Joanna de Angelis, for instance, they are always talking to, especially, I mean, to the whole humanity, but especially to those that they know that sooner or later we will have access to their uh, to their messages. So the you is each and every one of us, all of us spiritists, all of us that are having access to that. It is what is happening, like we mentioned during the talk, with the whole humanity. The whole humanity is here at this point to decide what they are going to do. They were also given the opportunity of making a difference in the world, because the more people we have deciding to go through the path of righteousness, for instance, the more we will feel inspired and the more we will see the landscape of our planet changing. So each and every one of us have a commitment and have the power of exemplifying, motivating others to do the same. But I was remembering also a personal reference from Divaldo when he said that he was going to a very difficult, struggling point in his life, and he kind of, was complaining to his spiritual mentor, guide, the benefactor Joana de Angelis, saying, "Listen, you talk to the whole world, you dictate those beautiful messages, and console each and every one of of all the souls that are here. And what about me? Why don't you write something particular to me or to my situation to comfort me in this time?" And then she says to him, "Listen, grab that book over there." And he grabbed the book and open and read this message. And he opened, and there was the you. And she asked him, "Who do you think is this you that I'm talking about?" And in this particular case, she said, "Well, this you is you. The message is for you. You are the one that is sharing with the world," right? But I mean, in this sense, each and every one of us represents the you, and and I would I would go as far as say even more those that are committed from one way or another to in this spiritual journey for their lives. Thank you, Luisa. Thank you, Marisa. Miss you guys.
Other question, comment? Marley.
You mentioned that Allan Kardec dictated several messages after his passage. And I don't remember if it was 6 or what, but I certainly would like to hear all of them at some point, if you can tell me where to find them.
Okay. I have a talk about some of his communications. We could perhaps go through that. We have them so far translated into some languages, not all of them. I have a few already translated into English, and it is because it is part of the Spiritist Review 1869. We will. I already have the translation of this book, and there we will have all of those messages of the communication. But I have them, some of them with me, and in a presentation, and we can go and cover them. And this is one of them. Is very beautiful. It's very beautiful. I mean, it's actually 2 of them, but it's very beautiful messages.
Okay. All right. So no one else has anything else. I want to just give the announcements. Tuesdays at noon, we will be back. Spiritism at noon will be back in January. We are not having it this month. The other meetings, the Thursdays and the Sundays, continue throughout the holidays. So this next Sunday, which is the last Sunday of the month, we'll have our Q&A session. And the Thursdays studies of the Spirit's book and the Medium's book continue as usual also, okay? I'm going to ask Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Oh, sure, certainly. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jussara, and everyone. Infinite Creator and all goodness and grace, we give thanks for the opportunity today to gather together as brothers and sisters, and with our affiliation with SGNY and Spiritist in general. We are truly grateful for Jussara's uplifting and inspiring presentation as of the year-end 2021. May we continue to be vigilant and persevere, to be of service and to improve ourselves and to share the teachings of Christ, the gospel, and the spirit of truth. May we support one another in unity and in goodwill and in strength. We give thanks to the spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, for their abiding assistance they provide each day, and especially throughout the past 2 years. May we continue throughout the week with our prayers, with our studies, and with our mindfulness, knowing that there is always assistance, for we are never alone as we ask and as we do our part. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ during this holiday season, the Christmas season upon us. And may we continue to be blessed, as well as those in our families, our friends, our loved ones, and those who cannot be with us today. We are truly grateful for each and every blessing that we have received throughout the year. And may these blessings continue to flourish and to expand throughout the year in 2022. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us as we go forth now, and as we remind ourselves to be beacons of light. May we go forth in safety and protection, as well as those who are near and dear to us. And may we continue the outreach of Spiritism, not only this year and throughout the years to come. May we be blessed, and may we share the blessings with others. So be it.